Imagine your dog standing perfectly still in the middle of the living room, eyes locked on a corner of the room where nothing seems to be happening. You call his name once, twice, even 3 times, yet he doesn't twitch an ear. Or maybe he's been perfectly calm all evening, and then, without warning, explodes into a frenzy of zooming circles around the furniture before collapsing in a happy heap. Most owners smile and shrug it off as just another quirky dog moment. But what if those ordinary scenes are not random at all? What if they are quiet revelations of something far more profound? Layers of instinct, perception, and emotion that most of us never notice. Your dog is not simply reacting to the world you see. He is navigating 7 distinct levels of existence, each one shaping how he thinks, feels, communicates, and bonds with you. These levels are woven together from millions of years of evolution, refined senses, and the unique way dogs have adapted to life alongside humans. Understanding them changes everything about the way you interpret every wag, every stare, every sudden dash. Today, we are going to explore the 7 levels of dogs in detail, peeling back the hidden psychology that makes your companion who he truly is. At the very foundation lies the first level, the instinctual level. This is the ancient core, the part of your dog that still carries the blueprint of his wild ancestors. Long before dogs curled up on our sofas, their forebears survived on raw survival drives. The need to hunt, to protect resources, to preserve energy. You see this level surface when your dog circles 3 times before lying down, an echo of flattening tall grass into a safe bed, or when he buries a bone in the backyard, not because he plans to dig it up later, but because the instinct to cache food runs deeper than memory. Prey drive belongs here too. That sudden focused sprint after a squirrel or even a fluttering leaf. Owners often mistake this for disobedience or hyperactivity, but it is simply the instinctual level asserting itself, reminding the dog that the world is still full of potential prey and hidden dangers. Behavioral patterns show that these drives cannot be trained away completely. They can only be channeled. When your dog tugs hard on the leash toward a bird in the grass, he is not ignoring you on purpose. He is momentarily pulled back into that primal layer where survival once meant catching the next meal. Recognizing this level brings patience. It explains why some breeds, like terriers or hounds, seem more ruled by these instincts than others. They're not stubborn. They're simply closer to the original wiring that kept their kind alive for thousands of generations. Moving beyond raw survival, we reach the second level, the perceptual or sensory level. Here, the dog experiences a world entirely different from our own. While we rely mostly on sight, your dog's reality is painted first and foremost in scent. His nose contains up to 300 million olfactory receptors, a sensory apparatus so refined that he can detect emotions, illness, and even the passage of time through changes in the air. He hears frequencies we cannot, picking up the high-pitched squeak of a rodent under the floorboards or the distant rumble of thunder long before we notice a cloud. This level explains those moments when your dog suddenly alerts to something invisible to you, freezing with ears pricked forward or tilting his head in that endearing way. It is not imagination. It is perception operating at a level we can barely fathom. Many owners become frustrated when their dog seems distracted during training or walks, sniffing every blade of grass instead of focusing on commands. Yet, at the perceptual level, Ignoring the command is not defiance. The dog is simply processing an overwhelming flood of information that we will never know. He smells the neighbor's cat that passed by hours ago, the anxiety on the jogger who ran past, the faint trace of rain coming from miles away. Behavioral science consistently shows that dogs make decisions based on this rich sensory map first, before they even consider our words. Understanding this level invites us to slow down, to let him explore with his nose, because for him the world is not flat and silent like ours. It is alive with invisible stories, written in molecules and sound waves. The third level is the territorial and resource level. This is where the dog's need to secure what matters most to him becomes visible. Food, sleeping spots, favorite toys, even the humans he loves, all can trigger protective behaviors. Resource guarding is a classic expression here. The low growl when another dog or even a child approaches his bowl, or the way he carries a cherished toy to a quiet corner and stands watch. It is not meanness. It is the deep-seated drive to protect limited resources in a world that once offered few guarantees. Territory marking through urine or strategic placement of toys also belongs to this level. You might notice your dog pacing the fence line or staring out the window at passing dogs with unusual intensity. He is not merely bored. He is monitoring the boundaries of his domain, assessing potential threats to the safety of his resources and family. Many owners misread these signals as aggression that needs punishment, yet experts believe such responses often stem from insecurity rather than dominance. When we respect this level, by feeding him in a quiet space or giving him space with high-value items, we reduce tension and build trust. The territorial level teaches us that what looks like possessiveness is actually a vulnerable plea for security in a shared home. Layered above that sits the fourth level, the social level. Dogs are not solitary creatures. They crave connection, and this level governs how they read and respond to the social cues of other dogs and the humans around them. Play bows, gentle mouthing, and the careful dance of greeting at the dog park all emerge here. Body language becomes the primary dialect. Tails held at specific heights, ears forward or pinned back, weight shifted onto front or back legs. A stiff, high tail is not always a sign of happiness. Context matters, and the social level is where dogs constantly negotiate relationships. Modern understanding has moved away from outdated ideas of rigid pack hierarchies. Instead, dogs form flexible affiliations based on mutual benefit, familiarity, and positive experiences. This is why some dogs thrive in multi-dog households, while others prefer being the only pet. At this level, your dog is watching you closely, learning who belongs in his social circle and how to keep the peace. The sudden playfulness when you come home, or the way he positions himself between you and a stranger, is social navigation at work. Misunderstandings arise when owners expect instant friendliness with every new person or dog. The social level reminds us that relationships take time to build, just as they do for us. Respecting his need for gradual introductions strengthens the entire family dynamic. The fifth level brings us into the emotional realm. Dogs feel deeply, experiencing joy, fear, anxiety, contentment, and even something close to grief. Research suggests their emotional range mirrors that of a young human child in many ways, shaped by the same basic brain structures. Zoomies, those wild bursts of running and spinning, often belong here, an emotional release of pent-up excitement or relief after stress. You see pure joy when your dog greets you with his whole body wiggling, or quiet contentment when he sighs and leans into your side. Fear responses live in this layer too. The tucked tail and lowered head during thunderstorms or the sudden avoidance of certain people. Many owners misinterpret these as random moods or spoiled behavior, but they are honest emotional signals. The famous guilty look after an accident is usually not guilt at all, but appeasement, an emotional attempt to soothe a tense situation. Attachment also deepens here. Some dogs form secure bonds, confident that their humans will return, while others show anxious attachment, pacing and whining at the slightest separation. Recognizing the emotional level allows us to respond with empathy rather than frustration, creating space for calm when fear rises or celebration when joy overflows. Rising higher still is the 6th level, the cognitive level. This is where learning, problem solving, and memory come alive. Dogs are remarkably capable of understanding cause and effect, remembering routines, and even anticipating our actions. They learn our words, not just tones, and many can distinguish hundreds of human vocal commands or object names. At this level, your dog solves puzzles, figures out how to open a cabinet for treats, or waits patiently at the door because he has learned the sound of your keys means walk time. Breed differences appear clearly here too. Some excelling at instinctive tasks like herding, others at adaptive problem solving. Yet even the brightest dogs have limits shaped by their evolutionary past. A dog who seems to forget a command in a distracting environment is not being willful. His cognitive resources are simply divided between listening to you and processing the sensory and emotional input around him. Training that respects this level uses positive reinforcement and clear patterns rather than force, building confidence instead of confusion. The cognitive level reveals dogs as thinking beings who constantly update their mental map of the world based on experience. Finally, we arrive at the 7th level, the relational or bonded level. This is the pinnacle, the place where the dog's entire being aligns with ours in a partnership unlike any other in the animal kingdom. Oxytocin, the same bonding hormone that flows between mothers and babies, surges when we gaze into each other's eyes. At this level, your dog reads your subtle moods, mirrors your energy, and offers comfort without being asked. He knows when you are sad and rests his head on your lap, or senses excitement before a car ride and begins to dance at the door. This bond is not automatic. It is cultivated through consistent kindness, shared routines, and mutual respect across all the lower levels. The deepest attachments form when instinct, perception, territory, social needs, emotions, and cognition are all met with understanding. Owners who reach this level often describe their dog as more than a pet, almost a soul companion. The dog, in turn, shows loyalty that transcends training, staying close during illness or celebrating every small victory in your day. When we understand these 7 levels, the way we live with dogs transforms. That frozen stare in the empty corner is no longer mysterious. It is the perceptual level drinking in a scent story we will never read. The sudden growl over a toy is not rebellion, but the territorial level asking for reassurance. The frantic zoomies become a beautiful expression of emotional freedom rather than chaos. Even the times he seems to ignore us reveal the complex interplay of all 7 layers working at once. We stop seeing our dogs as simple creatures who need only food and walks. Instead, we recognize them as richly layered individuals with instincts worth honoring, senses worth respecting, emotions worth soothing, minds worth challenging, and hearts worth earning. This awareness deepens the bond in quiet, powerful ways. You begin to move through your shared days with more patience and wonder. You notice the subtle tail flick that signals rising anxiety and adjust before tension builds. You celebrate the soft sigh of contentment that means every level is in harmony. Your dog, feeling truly seen, relaxes into the relationship with greater trust and joy. The 7 levels do not separate us from our pets. They bridge the gap, showing that while we inhabit different sensory worlds and move through life on 2 legs instead of 4, the desire for safety, connection, and understanding is universal. In the end, living with a dog is not about control or perfection. It is about meeting him where he is, level by level, and discovering that the more we understand his hidden world, the richer our own becomes. Every glance, every bark, every gentle lean against your leg carries new meaning. And in that meaning lives the quiet miracle of the human-canine bond, as old as time and as fresh as the wagging tail that greets you at the door each evening.